Jada Thompson's fingers flew across her keyboard, her other hand juggling a half-drunk coffee and a phone buzzing incessantly. The office was a flurry of holiday activity, team members exchanging jokes, the faint scent of pine from the Christmas tree in the lobby, and festive lights twinkling against glass walls. She had promised herself she'd finish the client presentation before sending a quick, playful text to her boyfriend, but in the chaos of juggling deadlines, coffee, and holiday cheer, her thumbs betrayed her. A moment later, her heart sank.
Oh no.
The words she meant to send to him, flirty, teasing, light-hearted, had been sent to Ethan Sterling, her notoriously cold, impeccably dressed, and unnervingly intimidating CEO. 5 minutes. 5 minutes had passed, and the notification bubble on her phone glared at her like a neon warning sign. Jada's eyes widened. No. No. No, she whispered under her breath, trying to summon a shred of composure. Her cheeks burned red, her mind racing through the possible catastrophic outcomes, a formal reprimand, a snide office joke at her expense, or worse, being quietly judged by the man who never showed emotion but clearly had a mind sharp enough to dissect hers. Jada, are you okay? Maya, her best friend and fellow marketer, leaned over with a mischievous grin. You look like you just texted the devil himself. Jada groaned, burying her face in her hands. I might have sent him, the text meant for Mike. Maya's eyes widened, then twinkled with amusement.
Oh.
This is going to be fun. Across the office, unseen by Jada, Ethan Sterling's phone buzzed. He glanced at the message, paused, and for the first time in weeks, a faint, knowing smirk appeared on his stoic face. Jada sat at her desk, staring blankly at the computer screen while her fingers hovered uselessly over the keyboard. Her heart was still pounding, and every small office sound, the click of heels, the soft murmur of voices, felt like a countdown to her inevitable humiliation. She kept glancing at her phone, willing it to magically erase the message she had sent to Ethan Sterling. Maya leaned over again, smirking. You're pale enough to be a ghost. Are you sure you're going to survive the next hour? I don't know, Jada muttered, biting her lip. What if he laughs at me? Fires me? Or worse, he doesn't respond at all and I'm stuck in awkward silence for the next eternity? Meanwhile, in the sleek, glass-walled office on the top floor, Ethan Sterling glanced at his phone once more. The text from Jada sat there, innocuous to anyone else, but to him, it was fascinating. Bold. Playful. Unexpected. He raised an eyebrow, a rare spark of curiosity in his otherwise stoic demeanor. By the time he walked through the office, Jada's anxiety had reached a peak. She tried to focus on her work, but her hands fumbled with papers and her coffee threatened to spill. Good morning, Jada, Ethan said smoothly, his voice calm yet carrying an undercurrent that made her pulse quicken. He gave a faint, almost teasing smile. Everything all right? Jada froze, heart in her throat, and nodded shakily. She wasn't sure whether to melt from the attention or run for cover. For the first time, she realized that her cold, untouchable CEO might not be as unflappable as he seemed. The next few days felt like walking a tightrope for Jada. Every interaction with Ethan Sterling carried a weight she hadn't anticipated. Simple office conversations now held layers of unspoken meaning. A lingering glance, a slight teasing smile, a carefully timed comment, it was all a game she wasn't sure she knew how to play. Maya delighted in watching her flustered friend. He's noticing you, Jada. Don't tell me you're blind, she teased, nudging her as they sorted files. Jada groaned, trying to focus on spreadsheets, but her mind kept drifting to the rare moments she caught Ethan observing her. A high-priority project forced them to work closely. Jada found herself in his office, leaning over a report as he explained revisions. The proximity was electrifying. She could feel the faint warmth radiating from him, smell the subtle cologne he always wore, and notice the slight curve of his lips when he found something amusing in her work. Ethan, for his part, maintained his composed exterior but internally found himself amused and intrigued. Her nervous energy, her inadvertent charm, and her intelligence made his usual detachment impossible. He tested boundaries subtly, a teasing comment, a brief touch on her arm, an unexpected compliment. Each move made Jada's pulse race, leaving her both exhilarated and terrified of crossing an invisible line. By the end of the week, the office tension had transformed into a delicate dance of professional boundaries, flirty miscommunications, and growing mutual curiosity. Both knew the spark was there, undeniable and dangerous, but neither was ready to fully confront it, yet. The office was unusually quiet that evening, the city lights casting a soft glow through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Jada sat at her desk, nervously tapping her pen against the polished wood, trying to finish the final touches on the high-stakes project. She wasn't alone for long. Ethan Sterling stepped in, his presence commanding but calm, his gaze lingering on her with a mixture of amusement and curiosity. "You've been working late," he observed, his tone neutral but carrying an unspoken note that made her heart flutter. "Need some help?" Jada shook her head quickly, trying to focus, but her hands trembled slightly as she turned her laptop toward him. A stack of papers slipped from her grasp, tumbling to the floor. Ethan bent effortlessly to pick them up, and their hands brushed. Electricity shot through her, and she pulled back slightly, cheeks heating. I'm so embarrassed," she stammered, words tumbling out. "About the text. I didn't mean." Ethan's lips curved into a small, knowing smile. "You didn't need to worry," he said softly. "I already knew." Jada froze, her eyes wide. The ice around his cold demeanor seemed to melt ever so slightly. He stepped closer, his voice lowering. "You're bold, Jada. And I find that very intriguing." Her heart raced as he reached for a paper she was holding, their fingers brushing again. The tension between them was palpable, a heady mix of desire, curiosity, and professional caution. In that quiet office, the carefully maintained boundaries began to blur, leaving both acutely aware of the undeniable spark between them. The next morning, the office hummed with its usual energy, but for Jada, everything felt lighter. The tension from the previous night had shifted, what once felt like an impossible, embarrassing mistake now carried a spark of possibility. She kept stealing glances at Ethan across the room, noticing the subtle softness in his posture, the way his eyes briefly sought hers before he returned to work. Ethan, for his part, maintained his professional exterior, yet the smirk tugging at his lips whenever she passed by betrayed his amusement and intrigue. The previous evening's encounter had stirred something rare in him, a curiosity and warmth he rarely allowed himself to feel. By lunchtime, Ethan approached her desk. "Jada," he said, voice calm but carrying that subtle playful tone, "there's a charity gala this weekend. I think it would be nice if you joined me." Jada blinked, a mix of excitement and nervousness washing over her. I'd love to," she managed, a small smile tugging at her lips. The rest of the day passed in a pleasant blur. Their interactions were light, teasing, and flirtatious, with just enough restraint to maintain professionalism. Yet, the air between them was different, charged, hopeful, and filled with unspoken possibilities. As Jada left the office that evening, she glanced back to see Ethan watching her go, his expression unreadable but his eyes softened with quiet anticipation. She couldn't help but smile. 5 minutes, one mistaken text, had changed everything. And for the first time in a long while, both felt excited about what came next.